Hey guys, today I want to share a few tips and tricks regarding Sinclair microdrives. So I'm enjoying my Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus quite a bit after having struggled with the repair, and you can watch the repair video on my channel where I struggle with this thing. That really gave me a hell of a time, and it was like probably the second most challenging vintage retro computer repair that I ever had. But now that it's fully up and running and operational, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So second order of business was then trying to use my old microdrive again, right? So these wonderful, quirky, very British indeed, endless tape loops, right, for the Speccy. And so those things are old, obviously. So a little bit of history. I got this machine, the whole set, actually in about 2001, when I was still living in northern Germany, in Hamburg, my birth town. And there was a flea market every weekend, and people were dumping their old vintage retro computers for 10-20 euros. So I picked up the whole set of this machine, right, another rubber key Speccy, the interface 1, interface 2, as well as the two microdrives and this nice box full of microdrive cartridges for about 20 euros. And yeah, I remember back in the day, you know, we didn't have modern storage solutions like the DivMMC. So the microdrives were still working quite a bit, so I was playing around with them, right, and was able to load software, so they all had like some games and stuff like this, right? So fast forward 25 years, I'm in the US, in California, and I recently, you know, brought over some of my stuff from my storage facility in Hamburg, including the microdrives, and I wanted to play with them again, right? So I also have a DivMMC, right, which is of course the most practical and most convenient solution nowadays to actually run software on your Speccy, right? Just plug it in, SD card content, games from the internet, and within 5 seconds you are up and running and playing a game. And that's of course incredible that we have all this, right? But a part of the vintage retro computer experience for me is also to use the authentic original hardware, right? So you see I still like CRT monitors, and I like floppy disks as well as the original microdrives. So I wanted to get those up and running again. And of course, the microdrives were no longer working after 25 years. So, and natively, I'm not really a Speccy user, so I don't know the machine very well. But I made the mistake that I basically plugged in the microdrives and tried to run them, load some games, and I succeeded for 1 or 2 games, but only once or twice, right? And then everything started to fail. And of course, what had happened was there's a little felt piece of felt here, right, between the tape and this metal piece, which is providing pressure basically, so that the read-write head can push it down. And this piece of felt, this deteriorates and basically turns into a crumbled mess, right? And that had happened to all of my microdrives, and some of the debris got into the cartridge, blocking it, right? And then those are then trashed basically. So I lost about 4 or 5 microdrive cartridges. And what you got to do is to buy some kind of felt, right? So this is like self-adhesive felt, which is only like 2 or 3 millimeters thick, right? So you can just pull off the and then cut it into pieces of 2 to 3 millimeters, something like this, and use tweezers to remove the old felt and put on new felt. And then your microdrives, in principle, still have a chance of, if they didn't collect too much debris, still have a chance of running. But all of the software was bad, right? So I wasn't able to load or read most of the games, and at that point I figured, okay, how do I recreate actually the content so that I can use them for something, right? And you see that this one was working, yeah. I do a cat here. I actually have a game on there, and I just put that on yesterday. So how did I do this? I mean, there is like a backup software which allows you to read something in from the tape and put that on the Microdrive, but that's kind of not very convenient, I must say, right? And so I was looking for a different solution, and a nice solution there is a drive emulator, basically, which is this one here. It's a ZXPicoMD. So it's basically a microdrive. It requires the interface 1 like the real microdrive. It coexists with the real microdrive, and it emulates basically the card, right? So you have an SD card here. The slot is unfortunately on the left side, so it's blocked by the real microdrive. But yeah, given that both those are real microdrives, now you can basically load MDR card images as well as tape files, right? Extension.tap and also Z80 and that snapshot format as well, as far as I know. And you can use this thing basically to copy over content from here to there. And unfortunately, this is not possible with the DivMMC, right? The other very convenient and storage solution that everybody uses for games, right? Because the DOS in the DivMMC, I think it's called EXDOS or so, right, is not compatible with the interface 1. So you cannot use the DivMMC in combination with a real microdrive, and hence I cannot copy over from one to the other, right? But with the ZXPicoMD this works. Really great device, very impressed with this, and it helped me to solve my problem, right? So, but let me actually show you how you can now use the ZXPicoMD as well as a real microdrive to transfer software, right? So let's do this. And of course there is a GitHub repo that also explains how you can create your own cartridges from Z80 files, right? So there's a tool, command line tool, which you can use to create your own cartridge files with games and populate them. But that does not address the point, you know, how do you copy content from here to there? And you need a piece of software on the Speccy to do this, right? Basically a backup or microdrive clone program. And this is where I struggled a bit to, not being a native Speccy user, to find something that fits my needs, right? So not sure you can see the menu well enough, I hope so. We zoom in a bit, but the first thing you do is you put this, you have the 2 drives. You actually have up to 8 drives you can select here, and each drive can be either a physical one, right? Needs to be to the left, real microdrive, like it's set up here for the real microdrive, drive 1 now, as well as drive 2, right? But you can also now change those to emulated, right? And then the icon changes, and then you can now select a MDR file which is on the SD card. And I found a program, a backup clone, microdrive clone solution, which is called Trans-Express 85.2. So, and this device, ZXPicoMD, automatically creates a cartridge if you feed it a .tap file or Z80 file. Very convenient, right? And now if we do a cat, we should actually see, no, actually this cartridge doesn't allow for a tap, but you can run it correctly, directly. So you can hear some sound, right? You're knowing it's doing something, and it's loading the backup software here now. Trans-Express, and part 1 is cartridge to cartridge, right? So let's use this. It's loading the cartridge to cartridge backup copy program, and this cartridge here, microdrive cartridge, doesn't contain anything of importance, so we can just format it and copy over a game. Okay, insert original into microdrive 1 and enter. And now I'm switching the emulated cartridge, right? And I'm loading a game here, an SNA or a .tab file or an MDR file, right? Mounting this virtual cartridge, Mooncrester here, and convert and load snapshot to drive 1, yes, no, yes. converting, please wait. Conversion complete, and now we can actually copy the content we just mounted a different cartridge, right? Mooncrester the game, and we are now copying over the game from here to there. So there you see the files, right? And you can now use transfer. All the files get selected and hit transfer again, and now you are basically in the backup drive management menu, and the first thing we do is we format the real microdrive. All existing files will be erased. Okay, yes, format microdrive. So this is drive 2 now, this is drive 1, and we just call it moon. There we go. And you know, if you have a bad microdrive cartridge, then formatting will take longer than, say, 20-30 seconds. Especially there's a testing phase after the formatting. And if this phase takes longer than 20-30 seconds, then something is wrong with your cartridge, and you might try, so here's the testing phase, you might try again, but if that takes longer than 20 or 30 seconds, you might as well trash your microdrive cartridge. So see, it's done. It's really quite fast, the microdrive. At first, you know, because I'm not a native microdrive user, I didn't know how long these operations should take, and took me a while to get comfortable with them and understand how long it takes. Now we hit transfer, and we transfer to microdrive 2. Insert backup cartridge into microdrive 2 and enter, right? So enter. So first it's testing again, so it's checking if it has enough memory for the 27 kilobytes that we are going to copy here. And given that we formatted the cartridge, we probably have like 80 kilobytes plus, depending on how good the cartridge is, the tape, right? So yeah, so here we have 83 kilobytes. And so this is kind of confusing, right? Because you always have to hit T again now. Now hit T, and then now it's actually starting to copy over, right? Loading from here and then writing to there. So it's a bit confusing that you have to hit T basically 4 times, because it seems like, you know, it's done something and you don't know how to proceed. Okay, so now it's transferring. Microdrive is doing its magic. This is such a wired technology, I have to say. I'm really impressed that this works at all with such a primitive but extremely ingenious and cost-efficient technology. And yeah, if you take care of your microdrives, okay, so that's about it already. So now we can as well reboot the machine, and if we do cat 1, we are accessing still the emulated ZXPicoMD, but we want to you know, load from the real microdrive now. And in order to do this, we are going to swap now into the emulated, the real microdrive mode, right? So you got to select this icon here, and it says drive is now set to pass through, and it needs, you need to leave the menu and also reset the machine. Right, thankfully the ZX Spectrum Plus has a reset key, and then now with cat 1 we can access the real microdrive, and hopefully we can just run. Right, there's moon, and that's also something I had to learn. You know, after you did a cat, you want to run the program, and you can't. You got to reset or new the machine, and yeah. So let's load moon again. It seems. Fingers crossed, yeah. Looking good. Now loading the machine code, I think. Most of these games have a basic loader that gets loaded first, and then this loads the machine code. And yeah, well, that's looking good, right? Start game. This game impressed me because it has obviously some digitized sound, right? You can also hear that my internal speaker is nice and loud now because I put in this little PAM amplifier, right? And I also have a switch so we can turn off the internal speaker and use the external speaker here. Alright, so yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. So I can highly recommend ZXPicoMD if you want to recreate or manage your real microdrive, right? Don't forget that you need to refeld your microdrive cartridges after many years because the felt will have gotten dry, right? And then if you need access to the internals to clean the head or the mechanics or get the debris out of the mechanism, right, unfortunately you have to remove the decor plate, but it's doable. I guess I can get like a replacement sticker or something from some of the Speccy shops. Alright guys, enjoy the Spectrum, ingenious piece of very British indeed hardware. I love it. I must say I've become more and more of a Speccy fan in the last 2 months, you know, after this repair, and now having all the wonderful modern extensions that we can get these days. ZXPicoMD, DivMMC, all great and fun stuff. Really enjoy and appreciate the creators of this. And yeah, originally I've grown up with the Amstrad CPC, which is of course also a British computer, right? And I understand that Spectrum users are not too keen and fond on Amstrad, given of the takeover and shared history, etc. But yeah, I think it's awesome British computing. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.